Welcome to the CEO Project Podcast, where Jim Schleckser, author of the best-selling book, Great CEOs Are Lazy, and the founder of the CEO Project, provides ideas and tools to help CEOs of mid to large-sized companies grow and optimize their businesses. Now, let's get started with the show. Welcome, everybody, to the CEO Project Podcast. My name is Jim Schleckser. I'm your host, and we're going to have some fun today. So today we got an old friend. Well, she's not old, but we've been friends for a while. Neen James is our guest today, and she has a new book coming out next week, which we're going to spend some time talking about. Yep, there we go. Exceptional Experiences for those that can see the video. But let me introduce Neen. Neen James is a leadership strategist, dynamic keynote speaker, and the author of Folding Time, Attention Pays, and now, coming up soon, Exceptional Experiences. With boundless energy, quick wit, and actionable insights, she serves as a confidant to C-suite leaders, helping them evaluate their experiences and achieve greater focus, communication, and influence. I'm not going to read all her awards because that'll take a long time, but she has helped the biggest brands you can imagine with their engagement: Viacom, Comcast, Virtuoso Travel, Four Seasons, and the FBI. She helps people prioritize what matters most, enable them to create exceptional experiences that drive results and foster lasting connections. Originally from Australia, which you would figure out in about 2 seconds, James is living her best life in Tampa, Florida. Hey, Dean, nice to see you.
G'day, gorgeous. What a treat it is to be back serving your listeners. I love being part of the CEO Project.
And I wore pink just for you.
I love that so much. It's so funny to me, Jim, too, because sometimes in a ballroom, people will come up to me afterwards and they'll be like, I wore pink for you. It just makes me so happy. Or on like a virtual call, clients that I know. So I appreciate that. I noticed.
I debated champagne, but it's just a little early for champagne, I think.
Is it ever too early for champagne? It goes with every meal. You know that, Mr. Sommelier.
Yeah, no, you could. It goes with everything. I just recently did it finally with fried chicken.
Oh, one of my favorites.
Best combination ever.
Did you love it? Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah. Well, it's not.
Add a little caviar and you've got the perfect meal.
Exactly. Well, so I've read your other books and I read this one, obviously. Thank you for sharing an advance copy with me. Exceptional Experiences. Why this book? What problem are you trying to solve with the book?
Think about it, Jim. If you look at my body of work, there has always been a message around making people feel seen, heard, and valued. And luxury brands do that better than anyone else. And the CEOs that I'm working with, Jim, they're measured on two things. They're measured on mind share. How do they capture the attention of clients, be top of mind? And market share. How do they drive revenue so they can be top of market? So if you consider top of mind, top of market, this book has been designed for leaders who are responsible for driving revenue. And what I'm finding is, you and I were talking before we started to press record, is so many of the executives, yes, they're buying it for their teams because they want to be able to have an exceptional client experience. So many are realizing that their internal client, their team members, are the ones responsible for that. So I wrote the book. It's really an extension of my body of work. Folding Time, you referenced, I declared to the world, you can't manage time, but you can manage your attention. Attention pays. I said it's an intention that makes attention valuable, and attention's about connection. And what I believe this book does is it elevates it again, because luxury brands know better than so many in the world that luxury is about human connection, and they know how to personalize and customize everything. So I use them as the case study and the premise for the book.
Interesting. Although I'm a watch guy, and for a long time, you go into a Rolex store to buy a Rolex, and they go, you can look at them, but you can't buy them. I'm like, well, you're not making me very happy with that conversation.
So many of those brands who have this, minimum, Hermes is another one.
I don't buy Hermes purses, or I would have mentioned them, but yes, them too.
It's the same thing. Ferrari's the same, by the way. You can't just walk in and order a Ferrari. So some of the brands have chosen a strategy like that, which makes it even more exclusive. But I think even the definition of luxury, Jim, needs to change. I'm on a bit of a mission. I think people think of it as elitist, as unapproachable, as expensive. And I see luxury as inclusive and exclusive. I think it's for everyone every day. That's what makes it inclusive. It's just that we all define luxury very differently.
Yeah.
It's exclusive because we can roll out the red carpet experience to our clients no matter what business we're in. I think of the CEOs you have in CEO Project, right? You don't have to have a luxury product to provide a luxury level of service.
Yeah, I love that. And when I read the book and the comment I made, it was like a roadmap to engineer and I'm an engineer, so of course that word, but engineer an amazing customer experience.
Right.
So, Neen is big, for those who don't know her work, she's big on conceptual models. So, of course, she built a
Mhm.
conceptual model that basically is the whole book in one page right there.
Yes,
So maybe you could take us through the conceptual model and the elements
sure.
of how we build exceptional experiences. And as you're listening, CEOs, entrepreneurs, customers can go through this, but also to Neen's point, you could bring your employees through this. Like, I want to
Right.
give my employees an exceptional experience and make them want to stay forever. So how do you do that? So why don't you lead us through it?
I love that. Jim, the contextual model that you have seen in the book is called the experience elevation model. And it's the model I use when I'm consulting with so many of my CEOs and their teams, or whether I'm keynoting on a corporate stage in a ballroom, or whether I'm facilitating a strategic planning retreat. And the reason that it applies is because, and look, contextual models are my superpower. When people start talking, I start sorting into some sort of contextual model that we can then replicate, because I think leaders need to communicate those complex ideas in a simple way. So imagine if you're listening to this and you don't have the visual, a triangle. At the bottom of the triangle, what we're trying to do is capture mind share. This is, we want to capture the attention of potential clients. So let's talk about it on the client journey. And so at the initial level, we're trying to entice. The first of the 5 luxury levers is entice. What you can do here is you can start to answer the question for your clients: why should they pay attention to you? This is techniques you can use, systems of elevation that include things like storytelling or really creative collaborations can be fabulous there. The second of the luxury levers, as we move up the triangle, this one is how you invite.
So
Invite
now,
is
so
about,
now they've been enticed. They're like,
you've
"Ooh,
enticed
this
them,
is
they've
this is interesting. I should pay attention to this," right?
exactly. So what
Okay.
you're doing at this next lever or lever, depending on how you pronounce the word, the 5 luxury levers or levers, at this point, not only have you enticed their attention, but now you need to demonstrate your experience to them. They want to know, okay, you're someone worth paying attention to, but they need a sense of belonging. And so this is where you can roll out the red carpet to them. So they start to ask, okay, what kind of special things do they offer in this company? So the
Mm.
first lever is entice, and then we invite. The third, one of my favorite,
But by the way, just on invite, and Ian talks about this. We actually use a technique like
same
this.
side selling. He's such a great
Well,
author.
he'll say, this isn't for everybody, but people
Yes.
that look like this, and this do really, really well with this. Or if you have these 3 problems, we do amazingly well at solving those problems. So that invite
Mm.
is about not only inviting in, but also I think inviting out people that
Yes.
just wouldn't be a great fit. And that's
Which,
okay.
and that is, I think that needs to be compulsory reading for everyone. Same
Yeah.
side selling is such a unique perspective. And Ian Altman is not only a good writer, he's a great speaker as well.
Yep.
So once we move through this luxury lever of entice, we then invite. And then excite, as I mentioned, is one of my favorites, because this is the point where you want to elevate the experience for that person. And so part of the way you can do that is do things that are share worthy. Think
Mm.
about engaging the 5 senses. And something, if you look at brands like IKEA, I'm not sure if you're aware, but 60% of the purchases at IKEA are unplanned, Jim. Because what they've smartly done is, as soon as you walk in, you smell the meatballs, you see the store layout, and you get to the checkout counter, you've touched everything, and you've gone home with $500 worth of things and projects that you have to put together. But it's
Hmm.
really interesting the way that they have engaged the 5 senses. And so at this luxury lever of excite, your client is saying, okay, what else? What else might they do to elevate the experience for me?
Mm.
And so you're constantly thinking through the different ways that you can engage and elevate for your client. Then we get to the luxury lever of delight. We often hear people say surprise and delight your clients. It's all great, but how? And at this luxury lever, what you're thinking about is you want to offer them that exclusivity where they feel like you really know them, that you've
Mm.
understood them. This is where we make them feel very seen, very heard. We talk about the Ritz as one of the examples, who is brilliant at doing this, and the way that they empower their team to do that. What's also fascinating about luxury brands is, I mentioned earlier, that they personalize and customize. It's at this luxury lever that I think you want to elevate everything by thinking about what else could you anticipate your clients didn't even know they needed. That's what
Mm.
we think about in this luxury lever.
We had a member that did meeting services, and
Mhm.
their motto was clairvoyant service.
Ooh.
Isn't that a great phrase, right?
So clever.
And the
It's
idea
so
was,
clever.
we understand you so well, we know what you need before you need. And
I love this
one
so much.
example
Love
is after
this.
the first night, um, as people would come hobbling in after, because they usually went to the bar, right? They had Advil and electrolytes ready
Yes.
on ice, ready to go, and they were just handing them out. And people go, like, I didn't know I needed this, but this is what I needed. It was so on point.
So great. I love that.
Yeah.
And if you are thinking about the visuals we've been talking about, we went entice, invite, excite, delight. The top of the 5 luxury levers is ignite. And the reason for that is this is where we create advocates of our clients.
Mm.
This is where they think, okay, who else can I tell about this amazing experience I've had of like clairvoyant service or whatever the brand name is of your member? Because at this level, what we're aiming for is really creating advocacy. The
Yeah.
ways we can do that is through some exclusive events, by really educating clients on how to refer business to us, because the client really does want to help you extend your business. So if you think of the triangle at the bottom, I said the bottom is mind share, the top is market share. If you
Mm.
are responsible for driving revenue, either as a CEO, an entrepreneur, or internally or externally, what this model will do is give you a variety of systems of elevation at every single level. Think of it, you said, like a blueprint. Think of it like a framework, a playbook of how to do it, not just for you, but that you can then hand it to your team and say, this is what we want to do to elevate the client journey.
So I love the thing about teaching them how to do referrals. Talk about that a little bit, because I, I know we struggle with it. Lots and lots of people wish they could have more referrals, and they don't know how to ask or teach their people that are really happy with what they do for them to
Right.
refer. So help us understand that a little bit.
Someone that I admire who does this really well is Bruce White. He's been a client of mine, I want to say, for probably 20 years. And he runs Johnson Kendall Johnson, let's call it JKJ for short.
Okay.
What I love about what Bruce does, and they have team members with such incredible longevity there. So their team members come on board and stay, but so do their clients. And the reason I chose him as the case study, Jim, is because I was always fascinated that he was dealing with multi-generational businesses. Like, he just
Mm.
doesn't lose clients. And so what we found was that he will always try to do what he calls surround their lifestyle. He tries to be such a great resource for them, like even your concierge services, right? Where they say, oh, your kid's going into college. I know some people who are in that town. Let me connect you. So he's constantly looking, knowing the network that he does, to be able to surround the lifestyle of the clientele and the team that he has, being that resource first. Then it makes it very easy for him to say to someone, hey, have you enjoyed this experience of working with us? And they say, yeah. And just, who else you know would benefit from working with
Mm.
us? And it's the simplicity of really taking care of them first to be able to ask for the recommendation.
Right.
And he does it in such an easy way that all of the team feel very confident in asking for the referral, because they also know they've given first. And that's another thing. Too often we're asking our clients for a referral, but we're not even checking with them if they love the opportunity that they had with us. So I think you've got to earn the right to ask for a referral. But if you're really focused on those advocates who love you already, the people who have had such a great experience from you,
Mm.
I think about this when I love a book. One of the first things I do is go onto Amazon and write a book review, because I know how important they are as an
Yep.
author, right? And if I'm on a podcast, as soon as I've been a guest, I'll go on and say it was such a great experience as a guest, because I like to advocate for other people. Because I don't know about you, but sometimes we read the restaurant reviews or the hotel reviews, and
Oh
we
yeah.
want to know, what are real people saying? And so this is an opportunity to train your clients to be referral sources for you, but tell them what you're looking for.
Yep.
Like what Ian does brilliantly is he explains, hey, we're not for this kind of person, but we are for this kind of person. Who do you know that we might be able to chat to? And then it
Mm.
takes all the pressure out of it. So I think
Yeah.
you can create advocates who are out there as an extension of your sales and marketing team. These are people who want your business to succeed. And the more you take care of them, those top tier clients, the more they will take care of you.
Love that. And I love the giving first. Like, I always heard that in
Oh, yeah.
networking as well. You know, a networker always gives first before I even ask.
For
And
sure.
think about how seamy it is when you go to a networking event and they're shoving business cards into
Ugh,
your hand, asking for
vomitous.
referrals, and you don't know who they are even. I'm like, I'm never going to refer you. I'm sorry. This is not happening.
100%. Or people that slide into your DMs on LinkedIn, they link that, they instantly connect with you. And then the first thing they're asking for is for you to buy something or refer, or they want someone in your network. I'm like, no, I'm out. Like
Yeah.
we have to, I think it's not because we give to get. I'm not saying we run a life of debit and credit in our life. But I do believe in generosity first, because I think if you stand in service of other people, if you give generously to other people and you hear a need they have, right? And then you say, hey, I know someone who can help you with that. And you give without expectations,
Yep.
I think that's lovely. But when the time comes for you to say, hey, who do you know? Or has this been a great experience? Have you enjoyed my book or whatever it is? I think you have the right, you've earned the right then to ask. And Bruce White at JKJ, he does it brilliantly.
That's beautiful. I believe in like karma. Like,
Yeah, me too.
right, do the right thing. Don't keep
Hmm.
track. It all kind of works out
It
somewhere, somehow,
does.
and I'm not smart enough to know how it works out.
We just got to trust him.
um, so as I go up the pyramid, so this is my little economic brain
Mm.
talking to me, like when is there a transaction that occurs? Or how do I think about turning this into a monetary process as well? Or is it simply bring them to a place that they're ready to buy at the top of the pyramid, or is there economic exchange as we go up the pyramid?
Think it goes throughout. And I think what happens, Jim, quite often for the clients that I'm consulting with, you may have someone come in at an entry level where they're testing you out.
Right.
Think about even like the Rolex example we used earlier, right? So you might have an entry level product where you're really just testing, is this a brand that I want to be aligned with? I want an example of their service. Or you stay in a hotel or you buy an airline seat. But what you're doing is you're really just investing in a small amount in the brand to see what the experience is like. And I think that is one of the places that you have the opportunity to truly treat that person like one of the best clients you've ever had.
Mm.
So the onboarding process, I think, is a good indicator as to whether someone wants to continue purchasing. But if their first initial reaction with you doesn't feel like a luxury experience. And we
Mm.
know what's not luxury, right? Too many chatbots, too many forms to fill out. We know what doesn't feel like luxury if we're dragging our suitcase through the airport and instead of someone saying, hey, may I take that for you? There is a difference. So I think what it's about is eliminating some of the things that don't feel like luxury to the client at the early stages. But if you treated every client as we are so glad that you're doing business with us from day
Mm.
one, then what you get to see is, and clients like Delta, like what I noticed about Delta is they track every single input, every data point they have. And so the simplicity of if you're on a Delta flight and you start watching a movie, you and I fly for a living. It's what we do. Some people drive, I fly. It's the same thing, right? It's just a
Mhm.
different form of commute. But if I start watching a movie on a Delta flight, I don't get it finished. And then I jump on another Delta flight. It says, Neen, welcome back. Do you want to pick up your movie again? That level of personalization and customization makes me think, not necessarily I want to fly Delta so I can watch movies that I miss out on, but it stays in my brain. So
Yeah.
I think from a transactional investment point of view, the further that you get through the experience elevation model, often the higher the spend, because you've proved in the little things that you're worth my business. But then when it comes to make a more significant investment, I feel really good about that to the point where I'll also tell others. But here's
Yeah.
what's also important to you understand this, Jim, because you believe in business karma. Ian understands this as well. Maybe I'm not the person who's going to buy the Rolex, but if I love the person who's selling the Rolex, and my friend says they had a really great experience, my friend Jen, who does love Rolexes, I might say you need to use Ian's guy. Ian's guy at the Rolex store here in DC was so great and so fabulous. So you might also find that the clients may not be necessarily spending with you directly, but they have influence to help others invest as well. And that's why I think it's so important to treat everyone and make them feel seen, heard, and valued, regardless of
Mm.
the spend.
Mm. The book I keep thinking about as you're talking is Seth Godin, right? Purple Cow or Remarkable,
Yes.
right? So you want to give them an experience that's so kind of interesting and different that they've got to go tell other people. Like, I went to this role, it was a completely different experience, and what an amazing person. Speak to her, she will take care of you. Like that was remarkable. And
Yep.
that's what causes referrals, I think. Organic, and not even have to ask
Does.
for them referrals.
And I think too, we can learn so much by watching some of the best. Like, for example,
Yeah.
if you purchase from any of the luxury retail stores, one of the first things they do is offer you water. And they don't just hand you a bottle of water. They bring out a tray. It has the water. It has a napkin on it. They ask you, would you like sparkling? Would you like flat? Right. And so that little level of detail. Now, you don't have to be a luxury retail store that if you have a reception area, your team could say, may I offer you a water? Would you like a cold brew? Would you like a coffee? How can I help you? The brands who provide the exceptional experience know their clients order in advance. And they say, Jim, I know that you love great champagne. I actually also know you love great Australian red wine. So what I've decided is we're going to open this Penfolds together to celebrate your visit here. And so it's really also about being curious about the clients you have so you can collect the data points just like Delta does. And then you can put those in your system. So next time Jim comes to your office, you know he loves red wine. He's definitely great on the champagne. And so just collecting those customer points is really important.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. And I love that that's sort of a combination of a human system and a technical system. Because you have to
100%.
build that technical system to remember the data, because humans aren't going to remember thousands and thousands of clients.
No, not at all. But I think, Tim, in our digital AI world, the human connection is even more important now for brands if they want to
Yeah.
stand out. I am a big fan of AI. I love the efficiencies of it. But what AI won't always remember is your pet's name, where your kid's going to college. They're not going to remember the conversation that you had previously, which I think for those of you who are in business development or responsible for teams who are driving revenue, that's why any form of CRM, I don't care if it's an index card, but whatever system you use to make sure that you are gathering data points that you can share with others, it also makes the rest of your team look like they're providing an exceptional experience too by collecting that information. I think with luxury, what they do well, personalization really requires information like what we're
Hmm.
talking about.
Yep.
The customization requires connection. When we think about how do we connect at a deeper level with that client, but the thing that's often missing, Jim, is fascination.
Hmm.
We need to be so fascinated with our clients that we're curious about why they've come to us, what they need, how do we solve for that? And that requires anticipation. That anticipation to say, how do I really blow your mind with this experience, whether it's the simplicity of a visit, a virtual team meeting that you're doing, but always looking to explore how do I make this such a great experience for you? Too
Right.
often, I think leaders, Jim, they're like a busy bellhop in a hotel. A bellhop is a vital role. We love a good bellhop. They move our bags efficiently through the lobby and up to our room. And I think leaders are like that. They're crossing things off their to-do list. They're trying to get to the bottom of their inbox. They're going from one meeting to the next. And it's very transactional. What I
Hmm.
want to challenge listeners to think about today as leaders of organizations is don't think like a bellhop. Think like a concierge. Because a
Hmm.
concierge, we know, just like one of your members, a concierge is the go-to person in the hotel. They're the most revered position. They can get you the seat at that restaurant, the tickets to a concert, but they anticipate things you didn't even know you needed when you stayed in that hotel. And so what I want to challenge people to think about is think like a concierge, not a bellhop.
Yep. I'll give you just a teeny little example. I stayed at, I think it was the Dorchester in London a little while. It was a fabulous hotel, as you would imagine. And, I had all these wires to charge my things, and I went out for the day, and I came back, and they had this, you know what I'm going to do, right?
I do know what you're going to say. It's
This,
one of my favorite things.
the Four Seasons does it too, but
Mhm.
this little leather thing to kind of keep all my wires together. I walked in, I said, I didn't know I needed that, but now I can't live without it.
It's genius. And the hotels that do it, the Mandarin does it, the Mandarin Orientals do it, Ritz does it. But when they wrap your cords and then it's branded and then you put
Hmm.
that in your travel bag and then it comes everywhere with you and they know. The other thing that I love that some of them do is if you leave your glasses on the side of the bed or your sunglasses out, they will leave like a glasses wipe. And then
Yeah.
that is something you take with you. And so when you think about that as a business owner, what's that point where you can surprise someone with something they didn't even know they needed? And an easy way to do that when I'm consulting with brands is have the team do an ideation of every single step of the journey from the moment they hit your website, fill out the form, or call an office. But think about all those different ways that you can incorporate your brand personality and surprise them. Even things like if you go to my page, if you try something on my page and you end up on a 404 equivalent on my website, there's a picture of me like going oops, daisy, like, oops, we've, break out the champagne. This is my mistake, but here's what you might be looking for. So we can bring our personality even into the digital opportunities through our email signature, our voicemail. I mean, I wonder when the last time is people listen to their voicemail message. Is that
Yeah,
truly an experience to surprise and delight others?
funny. You touched on AI, and that always feels like this battle between a humanistic engagement and an efficient economic,
Mm,
and how do we think about balancing those things? Because you've dealt with the chat bots both on
sure.
audio and they're horrible most
Hmm.
of the time.
Right.
And yet people drive them because they take a lot of costs out of their business. So they want to do that. But how do we
Yeah.
balance that humanistic, high touch, high luxury experience with trying to be efficient? How do we merge those two ideas? Or is that not possible?
No, I think it is possible, but I think people like me, if I have an Apple issue, I'm going to go to the chat first because I want to find
Sure.
out if there's an answer that I can solve for myself. And then if I can't, then I get passed on. So I prefer that. But one of the things to think about is where AI can give you amazing efficiencies to curate, to research, to take masses of information, to be able to provide suggestions. The key is in the prompt. And as they get smarter and smarter, and as we really tailor the prompt, I use Claude, and
Yep.
Claude is my boyfriend. We talk all day, every day. I love my Claude. But one of the things that's interesting is after I'd been using Claude for a few weeks, it then started saying to me, Neen, I made this in your sassy Aussie humor. And I was like, oh, that's a little scary, but really cool, right? Because every time Claude would use a word, I was like, Neen, I don't use a word like that. And he was like, okay, I'll never use that word. Great. So
Mm,
it's training. I think some of it is investment in that. It is good for curation, for research, for being able to share content. But here's the other thing. What it can't do is give you a cuddle. What it can't do is really look you in the eye and say, you are so important to us in this business. What it can't do is write that handwritten note to say to a
mm,
team member, I saw what you did on the project and I really appreciated it. What it can't do is like send flowers to the client that says, hey, I heard about what happened in your family and I just wanted you to know I was thinking about you. And so where we need to bring more human connection in our digital AI world is we need to be able to, you've heard me talk about this before, Jim, we need to listen with our eyes more.
mm.
As leaders, we have to truly pay attention to what is the conversation of the person that is in front of me, of the team member that's in the one-on-one, who's in the virtual team. What are the things I'm hearing? And I think we have to start to listen not only with our eyes, but we have to listen between the lines. What are clients not telling us? What are team members not telling us? And then how do we then solve for some of that as well? AI can follow a prompt, but a human can follow the heart. And I think there's
Yeah.
a big difference.
Interesting. Yeah, you're reminding me of a conversation I had with somebody. They were making an excuse for not doing something.
Sure.
Oh, this, that, the other reason. And I'm listening and I'm like, this is an economic issue, isn't it? And they go, yeah. I said, well, we can solve that issue. Let's talk about it. Right. So, but they
Mhm.
were not saying it because they were embarrassed and a
Sure.
prompt
Yeah.
never would have figured that out. Right. You had to listen and cut through it. So,
Yeah, I think that we can use it for efficiencies. And I think the thought leaders who are part of the CEO project, people who are listening to this, you can put masses of your own intellectual property in and ask it to create LinkedIn posts for you. You can ask it to write sales collateral. It's fantastic for those things. And it still requires your personality, your touch to go on there before it ever goes out into the world.
amen. Is there something I should have asked you that I didn't ask you, Neen? This was
No,
great.
I think I love the fact that I've had the privilege of meeting so many of your members and standing in service of them. What I would suggest is that as people are thinking through and they pre-order the book and they buy it for their team, think about it as an extension of an opportunity for ideation. So many clients are inviting their team to read it and then use it in their team meetings. So it's the kind of book that you can prescribe for pre-reading and ideation. If you've ever read Will Guidara's book, Unreasonable Hospitality, it's a lovely book.
Hmm.
He and I
Yeah,
were chatting about it the other day, and he and I agreed his Unreasonable Hospitality is like a love letter to the hospitality industry, right? And we both agreed my book is the framework. Mine is the framework, the playbook on how do you do it. So what I want to encourage listeners to think about is if you want your team to provide a higher level of service, if you want your team members to feel like they are important to you, this is the book that's going to help you do that.
I love it. By the way, you should look at Denny Meyer's book as well about
Danny,
hospitality.
oh my gosh,
Right.
love
Right.
anything that he does, love his restaurants.
Love it. So, The book comes out on the 14th, but you can pre-order it right now. Before when you finish this podcast or even in the middle, just go online and buy it. Exceptional Experiences by Neen James. You need to get a copy. And I love that idea of using it as sort of pre-read before an offsite to say, how should we rethink our business a bit? And this is just an idea fest if you're thinking about that. So Neen, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Absolute privilege. Thanks for having me back on the show again.
All right. Good luck with the book. Cheers. And for all of you that came and listened, thanks for your time, and we'll see you next time on the CEO Project Podcast. Thanks for listening to the CEO Project Podcast. We'll see you next time. Be sure to subscribe to get all the future episodes and check out our website, www.theceoproject.com.